This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
Oil prices rose on Tuesday, recouping losses from the previous session, as a weaker US dollar offset widening COVID-19 curbs in China that have stoked fears of slowing fuel demand in the world's second-largest oil consumer. Brent crude for January delivery rose $1.38, or 1.49%, to $94.19 per barrel at 0951 GMT. The December contract expired on Monday at $94.83 a barrel, down 1%. U.S. West Texas Intermediate, WTI, crude rose $1.15, or 1.33%, to $87.68 a barrel, after falling 1.6% in the previous session.
Indian state fuel retailers' diesel sale in October surged from the previous month. Preliminary sales data shows indicate a pickup in industrial activity during the peak festive season. Fuel demand in India, a proxy for oil demand in Asia's third-largest economy, typically rises during the month-long festival season as diesel-guzzling trucks hit the roads to deliver goods. State refiners' average daily gasoil sales last month rose 6.2% from September and was 12% higher than a year ago, the data showed. Gasoil accounts for about 2/5 of India's overall fuel demand.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
India will use next week's UN climate conference to urge rich countries to keep their promise to give $100 billion a year in funding to help developing nations deal with climate change and switch to cleaner energy, two government sources said. New Delhi will also reiterate its commitment to do its best to help slow global warming at the COP27 event, the sources said. The cost of both decarbonization and coping with the impact of climate change will be huge, and that is why those who have disproportionately contributed to greenhouse gas emissions shouldn't delay the funding, one of the sources said.
German industry cut its gas consumption by nearly a fifth last month, sustainability experts said on Tuesday, after a plunge in Russian gas exports sparked a continent-wide energy crisis that led to soaring energy prices. Releasing a working paper that assessed savings measures to date and also looked ahead, researchers at the Berlin-based Hertie School's Center for Sustainability said that lower usage was a prerequisite for overcoming the crisis. A further reduction in gas consumption in industry is likely in view of persistently high gas prices, they said. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. India's gold consumption in the months of October to December could fall by around a quarter from a year ago as inflation depresses rural demand, the World Gold Council, WGC, said on Tuesday. The lower purchases in the world's second biggest gold consumer could weigh on prices, which are trading near their lowest level in more than 2 years. Falling demand for gold imports could also help to narrow India's trade deficit and support the rupee.
Copper prices rose on Tuesday alongside global stock markets and oil as investors bet that central banks would slow the pace of interest rate rises and the dollar weakened, making dollar-priced commodities cheaper for buyers with other currencies. In China, the yuan strengthened and equities rose after an unverified note circulated on social media saying that the government plans in March to lift strict COVID-19 restrictions that have stifled economic growth. China is by far the biggest consumer of metals.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
India said it will allow cargoes of white and brown rice backed by letters of credit issued before September 9 to be shipped overseas, a measure that provides some relief to exporters grappling with fresh government curbs. The world's biggest exporter of rice on September 8 banned exports of broken rice and imposed a 20% duty on exports of various grades as it sought to boost domestic supply and calm local prices after below-average monsoon rainfall curtailed planting. The surprise move trapped nearly 1 million ton of rice at ports or which had been in transit before the government made the announcement. That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.